Let's move into now some of the issues of
Okay.
this campaign. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing the next governor of Missouri?
I think right now, and as you and I are speaking, of course, we're watching the markets being roiled by what happened on Wall Street. In case your listeners are curious, I voted against the bailout package twice because I thought it was a bit excessive, and there were some other ways we could go. But putting that aside, I think this is a pocketbook election. I think people, it wasn't that long ago we had $4 gasoline, and so energy, the cost of energy is still somewhat on people's minds, but I think people are anxious about the job climate. And so I think, we see our own numbers here in Missouri, the number of our unemployed has started to inch up too, just as it has at those national unemployment numbers. And of course, every layoff in our state means there's a Missouri family that's been thrust in turmoil. So we put forward a number of packages, and we plug Kenny08.com. We've got chapter and verse on jobs and on workforce development and on health care. And so I welcome folks to visit our website and would love to hear feedback from people. But I think trying to grow our economy, we've got a pretty good climate as far as our regulatory and tax world for businesses. But right now, our workforce, helping make sure, for instance, right now 4 out of 10 high school seniors are not proficient in math and science. So we need to start earlier. I put forward a proposal of 1,500 new math and science teachers to try to help make sure, because these jobs that we're recruiting are going to be knowledge-based or technology-based. So we have to help get our young folks ready to be proficient in math and science. That's just one example among many that I see as a challenge for our state. But pocketbook issues, health care, how do you afford health insurance, that's on the minds of a lot of people as well. We put forward a pretty ambitious proposal to deal not just with those who lost health insurance with the Medicaid changes. Our plan does deal with those on the low-income scale here in Missouri, but we also try to encourage others who don't have health insurance to be able to get health insurance. So it's a pretty comprehensive approach. We looked at what Massachusetts has done, what Indiana has done, and I've put together this model that I think really fits Missouri because that too is one of those challenges that affects people from all walks of life in our state.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about health care.
Okay.
How do you bring health care to more Missourians?
I had one healthcare expert say that he liked the plan because it was not just the traditional Republican plan. In other words, there's a public-private partnership. And the way we do this, especially, let's talk about those that are on the low-income scale, people who don't qualify for our Medicaid, or now called Health Net. What we do is the government, would help them purchase a health savings account. It's somewhat like the Indiana model, and we give them an incentive to be healthy lifestyle choices. We ask them to take a little more ownership of their health care decisions. The old system that we used to have, the old Medicaid system, enrollees were 4 times more likely to show up at the emergency room rather than maybe at the clinic, the non-urgent care clinic. So we want folks to think about the choices that they're making, but we help them. We subsidize their premiums for them for these health savings accounts. And if they have a healthy year, they can roll that over, or they can pocket what they haven't used. I mean, that's an incentive for them to be responsible then with this premium. For the next group on the income scale, tax incentives for them to purchase health care. What we do is we have something called a connector, where it's a framework that we say to the private sector, the insurance companies, we want you to bid for business. And the only requirement from the insurance companies is you cannot deny anybody for having a pre-existing condition. Well, that's a fairly radical step, and a lot of insurance companies would balk and say, well, we right now we have a high-risk pool and we have the low-risk pool, and we have to have, there's this adverse selection issue. We take that away by expanding the risk pool. There are 60,000 state employees that we put in the risk pool, and then those on the low-income side, I just talked about, that's about 137,000. We put them in the risk pool, and then we provide tax incentives for other people to purchase health insurance, and so that's another 60,000. So suddenly we're growing this risk pool, and that market-based model, I think, is the way then that other businesses who don't have health insurance can have access to affordable health insurance coverage. And so again, it's an interesting model that we're starting to get some national attention on. It's a little bit like Massachusetts, only we don't require people to say you have to purchase it, and so hopefully we can incentivize enough people to purchase health insurance within this framework. We call it Health Max, Healthy Missouri Access Exchange, and so I think this is a way for us to look at the 700,000 Missourians who don't have health insurance. We take care of the most vulnerable, but we also protect the taxpayer. It's about a $50 million general revenue hit, but we also propose ways to pay for that so that we're certainly not talking about tax increases, but we find some efficiencies, we find some other streams of revenue to help pay for this, which is a big difference between the Attorney General's plan, which is a pretty expensive plan, $265 million. So anyway, again, Kenny08.com, Health Max, chapter and verse, a lot of frequently asked questions and the answers to those questions on our website.
You mentioned this a little bit when you talked about the economic issues, but how do you improve the education system, or what are your plans to improve the education system here in Missouri?
At the elementary and secondary level, we've talked about, for instance, 1,500 new math and science teachers. We have a specific plan for the urban schools. Right now, St. Louis is transitioning. They have a special administrative board that, because the St. Louis system has not been accredited, and they're trying to get back to accreditation. Kansas City is heading along that path, and I've been over on the western side of the state aggressively talking about the 18,000 kids that are trapped in that school system. But since we're here at the University of Missouri, I know that this is going way beyond where we are, but my alma mater here, we put forward a plan with a higher education funding formula. We still, as far as higher education, we are 47th in the country as far as our commitment to higher education from state tax dollars, and that's unacceptable. Now the big axe fell, I guess, back in 2000, 2001, and so we're still trying to scurry back to, I think we're maybe finally back to the level where we were back in the early 2000s. The higher education funding formula would be and we base it upon CPI plus 2%, so that there's some certainty for all of our public colleges here in the state to know that they're going to have a certain amount of money. Now, we don't allocate to the University of Missouri vis-a-vis Missouri State University in that regard, but if my funding formula plan had been in place over the last 9 years, 7 of those 9 years, we would have seen more money flow into higher education. So that's number one. Number two, we talk about, again, something we call the Missouri Prosperity Initiative. A lot of, I think, our economic future depends upon research, some great things that are happening in laboratories all over our state. How do we get them into the marketplace? Well, we put some seed money out there that universities can bid for, but we require a private match, a 2-to-1 private match, so that we are now leveraging outside dollars to help our public institutions to take an idea. Just one example, for instance, Lincoln University, a Chinese researcher at Lincoln partnering with Missouri S&T. There's private sector money involved to take algae and create biodiesel. I mean, what an innovative idea that is not just then public money, but we are actually the private sector who is helping finance this innovative idea that may make us more energy independent. I mean, that's a win-win. So we've taken that model where we would focus then on, and it doesn't have to be in the energy field, but we do want to focus on biotechnology, on science, on chemistry, and to try to, again, get these ideas and actually put them to work for us here in our home state.